I'm going to take a look at another of the books that we're writing here. Been working on figuring out how to publish, either for self-publishing, getting these things printed ourselves in the United States, or putting them up on the Amazon publish on demand type of system. But we're still kind of figuring out all the process. And in this video, we're going to give an update to our Patreons, the 200 or so people that pitch in and make it possible for us to spend the time on projects like this. We call this the 2A History Project. This is a facet of the stuff that we do. And it's a goal. Our goal is to take some of the stuff that we've created for websites and for other projects and to accumulate them into booklets or books, whatever you want to call 30-page things that you can hold, put on a bookshelf. History that's maybe a bit obscure, a little bit hard to find. It's certainly been a challenge to research this all. So let's take a look. This is a book we're calling Mini Revolvers. I haven't decided if I'm going to add a brief history on the title or not. I kind of like it just plain on the front. Give us some feedback on that. We've got to go right into it. So not a heck of a lot of wasting time with blank pages or anything. I'm not interested in wasting paper. So we go straight into it. Get right into the table of contents and let you know we're going to talk about the guns, we're going to talk about the people, and we're going to talk about the companies. So I'm not selling you nothing here. This isn't a buyer's guide. This is more of a brief history than anything else. So we get into a brief history of the small guns, which leads into a brief history of the miniature revolvers. This is kind of in process. This isn't anywhere near worked out. Then I get straight into the human beings involved. So we got Dick Casul and his influence with really the modern resurgence of these things with Rocky Mountain Arms back in 1971. He's involved with North American Arms Corporation till it gets handed off, then Freedom Arms, and then later Casul Arms, and he made little revolvers with each of those companies. Dick, along with Wayne, starts North American Arms, improves on his first revolver, makes it the North American Arms. They hand that off to Tally. And then they start Freedom Arms, and they enhance it again and call it the Patriot. So Wayne is still, his son's running the company now, but he's still basically with Freedom Arms. I see him at SHOT Show. We got Frank Tally. When these guys were having some issues, they handed off North American Arms Corporation to one of the people that was creating products for him, parts. And that was Frank Tally. He ran North American Arms Corporation for a while. And then his company was bought by another company, and that company that bought him out decided not to keep the revolver manufacturer, so they tasked one of their employees to get rid of that, and that's Sandy. And a couple years later he just decided to buy the company, and he's owned North American Arms, calls it North American Arms Inc., and he's owned it since 1991. So switching over, we got Boje, a friend of ours from Tennessee, who was tasked with improving the AA-12 automatic shotgun, the Thunder 5 revolver. He's a machinist, and because he had access through another guy here we're going to talk about to the frames, he bought a frame for his wife. Some friends asked him to build little revolvers like that for them, and he ended up building a line of almost handmade, well, you could say handmade mini revolvers called the BC Special. You got Jerry, the guy who cast all the frames, the guy that all these different companies went to get their frames built. It was a guy in Tennessee named Jerry Babber, B&H Precision. And when I went out to meet up with Boje to talk to him about the mini revolvers and the AA-12, he hooked me up with Jerry. So I've met Boje, I've met Jerry, met Sandy at SHOT Show plenty of times. Never met Frank Tally. Met Wayne Baker, did an interview with him, and then never met Dick Casul. So met a couple of these people. Working on a timeline here. I'm still kind of thrashing this out, but we start from the beginnings of the percussion caps, which turn into cartridges, and add that to a bored through cylinder on that Colt black powder revolver, and you get the Smith & Wesson, the first modern revolver. It's a small little 22 short, and lots of little revolvers come out. You know, it's the Civil War, it's the Indian Wars. That's a violent time in the world. This country and other countries, hundreds of thousands of these little guns are made. The little revolvers turn out to be the winners in the tiny guns because they hold more than one round and they're useful. They're not impractical like carrying around 5 barrels might be. So they survive for quite a while until anti-gun laws start to happen. In 1971, we see Dick Casul come in as a player in 1971 and starts Rocky Mountain Arms with that little 22 short, the first modern single action little revolver, and the progression of companies then North American Arms Corporation, Freedom Arms, North American Arms Inc., the copycats, Charter Arms, BC Specials, PTAC, Micromite all show up. You start to get once you get North American Arms Inc. owned by Sandy, you get the explosion, the feedback from customers, and the influence, and the awareness, and the ability to make new models. And you see an explosion in North American Arms models throughout the 2000s, and the copycats come and go throughout the 2000s, and then you get the companies that work with North American Arms. Tallow, who makes special guns, and then you get Laserlight, who makes accessories in all different kinds of ways. Lots of different companies. I'll be adding to that timeline, but it's neat to see when these things all happen. It almost looks like a DNA, right? The DNA of tiny revolvers. Get into the guns themselves, which start from those Derringers, go into the Smith & Wessons, the Velo Dogs, and the Baby Hammerless. The origins or the beginnings of those mini revolvers that use cartridges. And then in 1971, the modern mini revolvers with Rocky Mountain Arms goes into North American Arms. You get into Freedom Arms. They get a couple of pages. And there's a full size. Got a little plastic one here. We can line it up with this short. That should be pretty much full size. I'll have to get the collection out and verify some of these pictures are life size. Then you get to North American Arms. I'm still working on that because it's an interesting history where it goes from California to Utah, it moves to a couple of different places until it arrives in 1994 at its current location. And you go on to see the evolution of the logo, the stamps on the guns themselves, so that you can tell from some of the characteristics of the guns. While I'm not trying to make it a buyer's guide, that kind of stuff is pretty interesting. We get the Tallow, who's going to get half a page for themselves, which is all the different special varieties that have been made since 2005, and they've done lots of them along the way. Part of the fun of researching this has been to discover Tallow doesn't do a big job of archiving their stuff, so going in and discovering from the internet when all these were made. We got a section here on 2 pages devoted to the collectors forum, which is one of the reasons I'm so interested in these things. Is they're interesting little guns, and that alone is interesting. Their story's interesting, but more than just being a little gun, they're a very living piece of the firearms community, and a big piece of that is the collectors forum that's been around since 2001. Unprecedented length of attention that the company has given to the people that respect their firearms, and it's pretty neat. It's a little exclusive. They don't necessarily like the Freedom Arms or any of the other types of mini revolvers, but it is neat to see a thriving collectors community that's been going on for a long time. Lots of people have been there as long as I've been aware and before, and they're still there to offer advice and to be impressed by collections and stuff, and to offer insight to people that come to them. Great place. We've got a section here for the pictures from our factory tour that we were able to take in 2010 when we went up to the North American Arms factory. We hope to be able to do that again with our better cameras, and do maybe a 10-year update on that tour. We got B&H when we went out to the place where the receivers are cast, where the frames are cast. Got a little section here on the Canadian noisemakers from Germany. These are little Canadian blank firing guns that are based off of the modern mini revolvers. I've just always been fascinated. They cost as much as a real one, so I don't have any in the collection. Plus, they're real hard to get in this country. We got BC Engineering, our friend Boget and his wife Dottie, who were very nice to us when we went and visited them in 2012. And again, to interview them and talk about the guns, and that's the gold one out of Boget's collection. Let's see, we got Charter Arms, who I have yet to meet or to talk to. They're difficult to track down. That company has changed hands quite a few times, but while they made the Dixie Derringers from 2003 to 2012, they were called Charter 2000, and they were in Shelton, Connecticut. So at some point I'll track down more information about these, discover little bits here and there on the internet. Do own one of these, but only one. I still need to get, I think, the long rifle version. We got the, and there's also some older ones that look more like a North American Arms, which would be interesting. They're like a North American Arms Freedom Arms. If you notice, they got the hammer like a Freedom Arms, but they've got the body like a North American Arms. They got their own unique grips now, but originally they had the same grips almost as a North American Arms, but I didn't even notice they were around back then. I don't think anyone would have paid that much attention to know that they were different from a North American Arms. Of course, they got the crossbolt safety. Another one made with a crossbolt safety would be the Micromite, which, again, we've got a section here for those. They were only made for a year or so at the same address as the Cold Steel Factory, so that's something I need to look more into, find out more about it. If there's anybody that's got a Micromite, I need to get one for the collection out there. We got the IO Incorporated, the importers, manufacturers, and for a couple of years there at SHOT Show, they were hinting that they were going to come out with their own mini revolvers. They called it the Valkyrie in 2007, and then the Escort in 2018, and 17 and 18. The big deal was they had a little rail under the slide there, under the frame there, so even though that thing, I don't know what it's supposed to be, it's a laser connected to the frame. But while we saw them at SHOT Show, they never came to be. One that does exist, and I would like to get for the collection, is an all-aluminum version. One of the Valkyries was said to be titanium. The next one was going to be aluminum, but it never existed. I just got to feel it, and it felt weird. The PTAC, though, the Bulldog, is allegedly an aluminum one with a crossbolt safety. So it's sort of a hybrid between the 2018 Escort that never happened and a Charter or a Micromite. And they call it a Bullfrog. And just to know the information I found online about those, but interesting. Next, the ammunition. I find one of the neatest things about it, because they have all the fun little tiny ammo. So we're compiling information about the ammo there, as well as some of the different ways that people load these things, including the black powder ones. We've got the parts, haven't even dug into that yet. Working on accessories as well. There's all kinds of things, from tiny bayonets and different types of lasers, from laser light to the different types of belt buckles, both from North American Arms and other companies, ever since 1984, when Dick Casoul invented the things for Freedom Arms. We'll have a page about our collection, my collection, which I don't know how I'm going to shove that onto one page, still working on that. And then attempt to put links to the resources that we've used to compile this whole thing. So if you'd like to jump from this to the next level, we'll get you started. So lots of different places that my firearms or the little tiny revolvers are mentioned out there, but we're going to link you to the places that we used to verify or to get the stats for the stuff that isn't just first-hand knowledge from meeting these people, owning the guns, visiting the places, and being part of the conversations throughout the years. So this is the next in our series from the 2A History Project. I want to thank our Patreons who give us the time to work on projects like this. As we're going through, we built the Shooter's Almanac at the end of last year into a booklet, and it kind of got derailed when we went on the campaign to promote the 2A rally last November. So this one kind of fell to the wayside. It didn't get funded and it never got published. We finished off this year getting it all ready just in time for, I don't have any of the patches here, just in time for the craziness to hit and make this basically useless, because a lot of the information in here was rallies and things that got either moved or canceled. So we'll redo this one in July, but the stuff we learned from this, we brought to some of these other publications, and we want to say thanks again to those Patreons. 200 people that I'll pitch in a couple of bucks. We're not making money. We're not saving for the future or nothing here, but at least we're getting some of this 2A stuff down. It's been online for a while. We're getting it into this kind of format so we can help people to share it. And in these videos, we're giving updates to our Patreons, people that make it possible for us to do this. Because sometimes it's tough to know what's being worked on when you're not joining us. Well, we do a lot of this stuff live in the Daily Gun Show, and then sometimes we'll just go live. We'll put a link over on Patreon and just go live in an afternoon if we're working on a project or something. But if you're not available to see all that, you might not be aware of all the projects that we're working on. And that's all thanks to a little bit of people working together. So if you think that's interesting, check out Patreon. Check out our projects. We'd appreciate it. But check out the other interesting stuff that's happening out there. All different kinds of stuff going on, being funded by individuals. Let us know in the comments what you think. And as always, thanks for watching.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.